Viewers, it has happened again. Once again, a controversy is raging after yet another member of the India Alliance, as it's called, has poured venom on the Hindu faith. At this instance, it's a Congress MLA from Assam, seemingly summoning all the bigotry at his disposal. Aftabuddin Molla has sought to suggest that Hindus are predisposed to committing crimes, if you please, viewers. Worse, he claims that Hindus implicate innocent Muslims to cover up for their dark deeds. The MLA has been booked and arrested for making the alleged divisive hate speech, but the damage is done. The poison has been sown in Muslim minds in Assam and beyond, thanks to, of course, social media, because his clip went viral. First, viewers, let me walk you through what Molla has said, and thankfully, he's been condemned by the Congress State Unit Chief, but unfortunately not by the Congress at the centre. Here is how he sought to divide and rule. Viewers, Aftabuddin Molla has said, and let me take you through it, wherever there is a rape, temple priests are involved. Show me one Muslim cleric responsible for wrongdoing. Such crimes are committed by Hindus, not by Muslims. Muslims are blamed for crimes by Hindus. This is what our man Molla has said, viewers. Outraged by repeated attacks by India Alliance members on Sanatan Dharma and Hindus in general, the Prime Minister has for the first time drawn a link to the mindset of the Gandhi family that rules the Congress. In an election speech in Madhya Pradesh, the Prime Minister offered his sympathies to the Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, whose party leaders Narendra Modi said are remote controlled to spew anti-Hindu hate. Viewers, he may not have mentioned the Gandhis, but if you hear his bite, which we will just play out, his sound bite, his remarks, you will know who he's alluding to. It doesn't require the mind of an Einstein or a Sherlock Holmes to draw the absolute connections. Listen.
कांग्रेस का हाल देखिए, 2014 तक जब देश में उनको 10 साल लोगों ने मौका दिया था, आपको पता ही नहीं होगा कि देश के प्रधानमंत्री क्या कर रहे हैं, क्या बोल रहे हैं, क्या काम, क्यों? क्योंकि वो उनको कोई काम करना ही नहीं था, रिमोट से चल रहा था, सब रिमोट से। लेकिन एक कांग्रेस की रिमोट की आदत नहीं जा रही है। उस समय प्रधानमंत्री रिमोट से चलते थे, इन दिनों कांग्रेस के अध्यक्ष रिमोट से चल रहे हैं। कांग्रेस के अध्यक्ष सीनियर मोस्ट लोगों में से एक है, मेरे अच्छे मित्र भी हैं, लेकिन आज उनका हाल ऐसा कर दिया है कि वो कुछ कर नहीं पाते, नाम मात्र के रख दिए उनको। लेकिन मैं कभी कभी देखता हूं कि हमारे कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष जी खुद के मूड में आ जाते हैं। कभी ये रिमोट का अगर चार्जिंग खत्म हो गया हो या कनेक्टिविटी टूट गई हो तो उनके मुंह से कुछ अच्छी बातें निकल जाती हैं। मैंने कहीं पढ़ा, कल उन्होंने पांडवों को याद किया था। जब रिमोट चलता है तब वो सनातन को गाली देते हैं, लेकिन रिमोट बंद हो गया तो उन्होंने कल पांडवों को याद किया, मतलब सनातन को याद किया। और उन्होंने ये कहा, भाजपा में 5 पांडव है। देखिए, जब सच बोलते हैं तो कैसी बात निकलती है जी। हमें गर्व है, हम 5 पांडवों के राह पर चल रहे हैं। इससे बड़ा गर्व क्या हो सकता है?
Viewers, for those in the south who perhaps might have missed what the Prime Minister said, let me sum it up for you. He said Congress has always operated via remote control. PM's office run via remote control under the UPA regime. Now the Congress chief operates via remote control. When the remote is on, Congress chief abuses Sanatana. When remote is off, Congress chief says BJP has 5 Pandavas. Now it's very clear who handles the revote, viewers, according to the BJP in the Congress party. We all know. So we don't really have to spin any new facts here? Well, viewers, the Prime Minister's remarks are intended to punch the Congress where it hurts the most by linking the Gandhis to the anti-Hindu hate that spews forth from Congress ranks. The Prime Minister is hoping to expose the hollowness of the party's first family's commitment to Muhabbat ki Rajniti, as it calls it. The Gandhis, especially Rahul Gandhi, has positioned himself as an ideological adversary of the Saffron Parivar. Rahul says that while the Sangh is a bigoted organization, the Congress is a Muhabbat ki Dukan. These are his words, not mine. But does the Congress claim that it is a Muhabbat ki Dukan stand up to scrutiny? First, listen to what Rahul Gandhi has said in the past, describing his party and his politics. Listen in.
नफरत के बाजार में मोहब्बत की दुकान खोल रहा हूं। आप मुझसे नफरत करो, आप मुझे गाली दो, यह आपके दिल की बात है। आपका बाजार नफरत का, मेरी दुकान मोहब्बत की। और मैं सिर्फ अपनी बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, यह मत सोचिए कि यह सिर्फ राहुल गांधी बोल रहा है। ये पूरा का पूरा जो संगठन है जिसने इस देश को आजादी दी, हम कौन होते हैं? महात्मा गांधी जैसे लोग, जवाहरलाल नेहरू, सरदार पटेल, अंबेडकर जी, आजाद, इन सब ने नफरत के बाजार में मोहब्बत की दुकान खोली थी।
Well, viewers, as you heard, Rahul Gandhi invoked the founders of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, and he says that, look, I've traced my ideology from his pedestal, so to speak. So let's examine this claim of the Congress being a Muhabbat ki Dukan. Now, while it is true that some BJP and Sangh leaders have crossed the line in the past, the Gandhi-led grand old party is no shrinking violet when it comes to either aligning itself to sectarian leaders or indulging allies who have made divisive anti-Hindu statements. But these transgressions by the Congress and its allies are visible and easy to call out. What goes unnoticed is how the Congress party has mocked secularism by selectively undermining Hindu interests when it has been in power. Now, here are the hard facts that establish this often underreported siege of Hindu interests that begs deeper questions of the Congress. Rahul Gandhi talked about Mahatma Gandhi. Well, let's look at Mahatma Gandhi himself and let's examine whether the Congress's Muhabbat has been selective. 1921, the Mopla massacre. Viewers, Mahatma Gandhi justified acts by Muslim rioters saying, and I quote him, Hindus should not harbor anger in their hearts against Muslims, even if the latter wants to destroy them. Even if Muslims want to kill us, all, we should face death bravely. Birth and death are inevitable for every human being. In fact, viewers, if you don't believe that Mahatma Gandhi actually said it, you can read Dr. Ambedkar. He has represented exactly how Mahatma Gandhi put it in his works. 1951, the restoration of Somnath Temple, big issue. But viewers, Nehru opposed the restoration of Somnath Temple on the grounds that it would sow the seeds of, quote, Hindu revivalism, unquote. 1959, HRNC Act, Congress state government in Tamil Nadu brings Hindu religious places under state control by passing this act, this draconian discriminatory act. 1991, Places of Worship Act, Congress promulgated and passed the Places of Worship Act, 1991, that predominantly capped Hindu claims on their religious sites after 1947. So you could never get them back. 1995, the Waqf Act. Congress government passed the Waqf Act that gave such bodies, the Waqfs, the power to take over any property anywhere in the country. In 2006, Minority Affairs Ministry was set up to exclusively cater to minority needs and welfare. In 2006, that same year, the first claim controversy. Manmohan Singh, the then Prime Minister, said minorities, especially Muslims, must have the first claim on states' resources, unquote. His words. 2009, 4.5% minority quota vow. The Congress-led UPA promised a quota for minorities in its manifesto for the 2009 election manifesto, viewers. All of this suggests that the Mohabbat ki Dukaan caters to very select clientele, discriminating against others, taking us back to what Aftabuddin Molla has said, viewers. It's the same kind of selectivism, divide and rule. How is this a Mohabbat ki Dukaan, which doesn't take along everybody, doesn't cater to everyone? Let's open this up. Let's go to our big debate. Is Congress's Mohabbat mask slipping tonight?
Moto.
That big question on the debate. Let's throw this open. Let's ask those fundamental questions. Let us begin, viewers, tonight by asking Tehseen Poonawalla. Dr. Ranganathan tonight is in our studios. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Tehseen Poonawalla, I know that you take a balanced position on all of these things. First of all, does what Aftabuddin Molla say, does this inspire confidence that the Congress is running, as Rahul Gandhi says, a Mohabbat ki Dukaan? First, let's go to the most basic questions. I won't complicate matters for you.
I don't even know who this Abdul guy is until I heard of him today on your show. Any random person comes and says something and it's quoted
Random.
to Rahul Gandhi, and that's fair. And no, please, and that's fair. I agree. That's your right. But the Honorable Prime Minister, I filed a complaint, said Shamshan Kabristan. The Honorable Prime Minister campaigning in Uttar Pradesh in 2017 said trains got derailed because Pakistani people involved with Pakistan were derailing trains, and I had to counter him. The Honorable Prime Minister said dangayo ko kapdon se pehchana jata hai. Whoever this Abdul guy is, I have no idea. I'm hearing of him for the first time. I promise you that. Is this equivalent to what the Prime Minister says? I'm asking you, and I leave it for your viewers.
I just want to first acquaint you with this gentleman. He was sworn in to the Assam Assembly. He's a member of the Legislative Assembly, sir. He was voted by a large number of ordinary Indians that Mr. Robert Vadra once described as Aam Admi in a banana republic. It certainly must take people living in a banana republic to put a man like this in the Legislative Assembly. But that apart, one shouldn't stand in contempt of the choice of the voter. So I can't fault the voter, I must actually fault this gentleman who belongs to the Congress, but you have very quickly disowned a man who took oath on the Constitution of India.
I'm not disowning
That
him. I'm saying
Indira Gandhi secularized, viewers, if you please.
I'm not
So
disowning
if that
him.
person is betraying the legacy of Indira Gandhi, who secularized our Constitution, because as we know, viewers, in 1947 it wasn't a secular document according to her. It took another 35 years for her to realize that we didn't have a secular constitution. That constitution framed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, signed off by others, and then obviously presided over, gifted to this nation by the Prime Minister Nehru himself. To think that Nehru would have gone along with a communal constitution. But then maybe, I don't know. So Dr. Ranganathan, how do we address this? Now, the Prime Minister says that this is all...
Gandhi said on the secular part. May I just correct you at one line and then Dr. Ranganathan just one line?
Yeah.
Actually, Mrs. Gandhi never said the constitution was not secular. In fact, the word secular was precisely added and upheld by a full bench of the Honorable Supreme Court because the constitution reflected secularism, therefore it was reflected in the preamble.
Before that it
But
wasn't
why do you,
secular,
Rahul?
right?
But why
The
do you,
constitution
Rahul?
was not... No, hang on.
Of course
Before
it was. That's what
76
Mrs.
it
Gandhi
wasn't...
said. That is what the
Was the
government
constitution, excuse me, was the constitution in spirit and letter secular before that date? Yes or no?
Absolutely secular. That's what the government said in the Supreme Court.
So then, why
So
the
I don't
virtue
get it.
signaling?
What is the problem?
Anyhow,
where they put it?
the point
but
is,
why
viewers,
don't you pick on the word socialist? Why do you only take the word
It
secular?
should be
There are
removed.
two words put.
The word
Remove the
socialist should
socialist.
also be removed. In fact,
very
let me
sure
tell
of
you,
this. You're very
my
sure of
dear,
this.
let me tell you, my dear, that the word socialist was also discussed by Dr.
Yes.
B.R. Ambedkar.
Correct.
Right to the last letter. And he says we should not tie ourselves up in knots by proclaiming what we must become. We should leave that to future generations. And
All
let
right,
me
so
tell you,
we should
one
remove
minute,
it.
the father of Dr. Manu Singhvi, the great LM Singhvi, asked Haath Jod ke Indira Gandhi not to use that word, not to shove it into the constitution. Anyhow, that's a whole longer discussion, but Tehseen Poonawalla, maybe you don't realize all of this, maybe it's escaped your attention, I don't know. But Dr. Ranganathan, it certainly wouldn't have escaped yours. I want to ask you, has the Mohabbat mask slipped or was it never there?
The Mohabbat mask was never there. It's just a question of the acknowledgement by people who've witnessed what Congress has done over the past 75 years. Are they open and frank enough to publicly say what I am saying? That the Congress is philosophically, is politically, is both contemporary and historically, and more damagingly, viscerally anti-Hindu. I repeat, the Congress is viscerally anti-Hindu. And I am not going to say this just and leave it at that. I want to give you 3 or 4 examples of each domain. This is not about what Tehseen says, somebody is a prominent leader, somebody is not a prominent leader. Tehseen himself knows, being my younger brother, that there are many prominent Congress leaders who've made rabid anti-Hindu statements. There was a Goa MLA who was arrested for saying Lord Parashuram was a rapist. Routinely, Congress spokespersons and youth Congress leaders have made Gaumutra jibes. Who did Rahul meet during the Bharat Jodo Yatra? George Punaya, who made rabidly anti-Hindu statements. There are so many, I have a long list of this. But that's what the leaders say. Yes, there are leaders who say anti-religious statements from every party. So to buttress my argument, I need to move a bit beyond and see what Congress has done viscerally, constitutionally and legally to be called anti-Hindu. And here, for paucity of time, just 2 or 3 things. One, contemporary. As soon as Congress takes back Karnataka, you have wild celebrations of Tipu Jayanti. Tipu was a mass murderer, Hindu hater, who destroyed not only temples but also churches, converted lakhs of Hindus, even dead Hindus of Kur were converted, who by his own manifesto said that the annihilation of the infidels is a sacred duty and I will follow it. So it's celebrating all those people just to humiliate Hindus. Number 2, and this is where people don't understand, that when 26/11 happened, Congress wasn't just satisfied in condemning what has happened. It wanted to put that blame on a Hindu organization. And had Kasab not been caught alive by the legend, the Inspector Omble,
Yes.
Congress would have run away with this theory. That this whole thing was perpetrated by Hindu organization RSS. Number 3, and here I come to the real damaging visceral part. The 2 most blatantly Hinduphobic or anti-Hindu policies and acts that have been enacted since independence have been done by Congress. I talk here of the Waqf Act 1995 that you also alluded to, and the Places of Worship Act 1991. Nothing can be more anti-Hindu than those where you are denying Hindus the legitimate right, Rahul, to even approach the courts to demand their demolished temples back. How in a democracy this can happen, that yes, the courts may decree that you may or may not have that temple back. At least in a democracy, a person must be allowed to go to the court. So here are 5 or 6 examples that I have given that prove that Congress is viscerally anti-Hindu.
You see, that's the reason why. One second, that's the reason why. Just 1 second, Tehseen Poonawalla, I'll come back to you. We are not running away. I never run away from a debate. I am not part of the cancel culture brigade.
I know, Tehseen, what you're going to say. I know, and I have a response to that as well.
You know, I'll tell you
I
something.
also have a response to the response you have to mine.
Okay, 1 second. I'll bring you in. No problems. I'll never deny you that opportunity. You see, viewers, I said in my introduction tonight, and I think I anticipated what the others would say.
My profuse apologies. I forgot Congress was about to bring the communal violence bill.
That's right.
Whereas whatever happened,
which was
Hindu majority would have been responsible.
Anyhow, one second. I'll come to you. Tehseen, you'll get all the and in fact, you know, we also have with us Mr. Kamru Chaudhary, who's from Assam. So he will at least know this particular leader. But nonetheless, Now, I began by saying, while it is true that some BJP and Sangh leaders, senior ones at that, have crossed the line in the past, the Gandhi-led grand old party is no shrinking violet when it comes to either aligning itself here and there.
Yeah.
So, viewers, in the hurly-burly of Indian politics, things are said by the Congress, by the BJP, by their tallest leaders. Some then go for benediction to temples out of the blue or whatever else. But the point is, viewers, it matters what you do when you're in power, when you have the levers. You see, the Prime Minister constantly comes out and says that, judge me what I do in office. Have I brought out any policy that discriminates against any one particular sect? And that's what he says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. The Congress, when it was in power, and that's why I chose these examples, because these are irrefutable. Fine, we started with Mahatma Gandhi because I knew that people will, like Rahul Gandhi did, point to Mahatma Gandhi and say, we trace our genealogy, ideological genealogy from his mind. Well, that's why I brought in the Mopla massacre. And there are several other examples. I didn't want to really go into it because, as you know, viewers, we're all sensitive about the Mahatma, and I understand that. So I don't want to go into it. But there are so many examples. But I want to bring in the venerable, Tehseen Poonawalla, make your point, and then I want to bring in venerable
very
Mr.
quickly,
Chaudhary. He's waited, and America
my...
Narayanan, and of course,
sure.
Dushyant
very
Sridhar.
quickly, and I apologize to all my fellow panelists for taking up this time. But you know, to quote selectively, see, Dr. Ranganathan is a great friend of mine, my older brother. He looks also elder than me, and he's also a scientist, but he quotes selectively from data. The same Kripa Shankar Singh ji, who endorsed Pakistan, was involved in, RSS was involved in 2611, is the tallest leader of the BJP in Mumbai. The same RK Singh ji who says there's some terrorists today.
It's not right. Tehseen,
It's not right. But no,
when I asked you, will you condemn this Mr. Mola? What did you say? I haven't heard of him. He's an insignificant guy. But you know, Modi is to blame.
Yes.
Be consistent. We are not.
Please allow me.
And
please give me my time.
Can I take a minute, Tehseen?
Please allow me.
Tehseen, I got the thrust of your argument.
To be fair,
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Allow me.
Otherwise,
I totally agree with you. If you think that there are two legislations brought in by the Congress, supported by the BJP by walking out of Parliament because it's not a majority government, I'm talking about POW Act, why hasn't the great Prime Minister Modi, the Virat Prime Minister of our country, not remove those acts? I'll tell you why.
Because I'll tell you why, sir. Because there'll be riots in this country, there will be people on the streets, and there will be people like you who will say, a great crime has been committed, an act of great communal violence, like you said when the CA was brought in, which is now in the cold storage. Like you in fact even said when the 3 farm laws were brought in, that it was an assault, communal assault on one particular community. That's the problem with our country.
So the Prime Minister...
But Tehseen, you had more than yours.
Yeah. Now Tehseen, please. Look, yes, let the others also come in. Tehseen, please, I request you, sir, please. I request you. You made your point, we've understood. You're saying they also did it, so we can also do it, but they didn't do it when they were in office. That's what I'm trying to say. They do it on the stump. You do it on the stump. It all cancels. I'm not saying it's good, and we don't even... I'm sure that Kripa Shankar is not... Dr. Ranganathan doesn't think that he's the greatest exponent or whatever. Yes.
And this is where... That's why I said I knew what Tehseen is going to say. And what Tehseen doesn't say now is that all the points that he makes, I have already made those points, and let me reiterate them. Each and every instance of Congress purportedly being Hinduphobic or enacting policies that are anti-Hindu, the BJP has gone along with it. Today's debate is not about the BJP, it is about Congress being Hinduphobic. Let me just take 30 seconds, Rahul. Congress venerates Mahatma Gandhi. So does the BJP. Congress brought in the Endowments Act. BJP continues with it. Congress brought in the Waqf Act and the Place of Worship Act. And BJP continues with it. Congress criticized RSS for, or alleged RSS was, the people who did it are now in the BJP. I have said this before. In fact, in my book, I have castigated BJP more than the Congress. Tehseen, you know it. But today's debate is about Congress, not about BJP.
And I'm not even talking about the superficialities, Mr. America Narayanan. I want to ask you, Mr. America Narayanan, since you are so exuberantly wanting to come in, and I am bringing you in, sir. I want to ask you, the Congress party that you are a part of
Don't waste
I'm
your
asking
time.
you the
I'll
question.
go point by point. You already asked. I think you have taken a lot of time.
The
of
Congress
yours. I'll go
party in the
step by
state of
step.
Tamil Nadu
I'll
supports
start
a
with Prime
government
Minister
that
Modi.
is patently and viciously anti-Sanatan Dharma and makes no bones about it. How does that square
let's come back. I'll come.
with Mohabbat ki dukaan?
I'll answer that question. Let me go first to the Prime Minister, who talked about the party being remote controlled. Now, Mr. Karge has already won Karnataka election. Now what happens to Nadda, and who is controlled by the Prime Minister, who could not only win the state of Himachal Pradesh, but also his own municipality, and who is controlling by remote control, the president of BJP. Let's move on to the next one. You talked about Indira Gandhi bringing in the word secular into the constitution. Indira Gandhi knew the people, the Hindutwadis, will come and try and disseminate the constitution, and so she intentionally foresaw
not
that
disseminate.
and
Excuse
brought
me.
in the word
Desecrate, you mean.
secularism.
Yeah.
Now let me finish up. I'll go step point by point. Number 3, you talked about Congress bringing in several things that help the Muslims. But you forgot in the constitution, and after that, you forgot about the same Congress, and which has brought separate thing for the Dalits, and are the Dalits not part of Hindus? You guys don't want them to be part of
So
Hindus.
you're mixing
That's your
up
problem.
two things, caste and
The
religion.
first constitutional
You're
amendment,
mixing up caste
the first
and religion.
constitutional
You're
amendment
allowed to.
was brought in by Mr. Kamaraj and passed by Nehru to bring in MBC, separate allocation for the MBCs.
What am I
And of course, the
supposed to say?
Dravidians take credit for that. Congress does not. The problem with you is
Yes,
you don't think Dalits, MBCs, which Congress has specifically done, because they care about the weak, as Mahatma Gandhi said, the weakest of the weak and the poorest of the poor. So
Right.
you selectively look at what they have done for Muslims, because even today,
Yes, sir.
Muslims are not economically well off
Right.
and are not taking the
75
economic
years
pie
the Congress was
as
in power.
percentage of population they have.
Who is to blame if the Muslims are not
No,
well
you have
off?
been in 10
That
years,
was
10
supposed to
years
bring.
in power.
Okay,
Why
one
did you
second,
not
one
take
second.
that away?
America
Your time
Narayanan.
still talked about caste.
Okay, sir, please, one second. America Narayanan, I think you're confusing two issues. Even the Supreme Court says that you cannot have.
You are
Now, let me finish now. I'm
your
not going to
viewers.
listen to your constant interruption. You listen, please. I've never interrupted you. You spoke at length. Now I'm making a very important distinction. Since you have accused me of being anti-Dalit, etc., etc., I don't know how that is coming to this conversation. We are talking about religion and secularism, sir. We are not talking about
Because that
caste.
suits you.
The Supreme Court allows for quotas. The law allows for quotas. The EBC quotas, several of them have been created by this government also. Don't forget. But it doesn't allow for religious quotas, which is what the Congress wanted to do, which pullulates, which
answer
undercuts
that?
to simply, no, have you done
Can I
whatever
answer
you have to answer, sir? You've done it. Now let me bring in Mr. Chaudhary. Let me bring him in. We've heard you. You haven't understood the subject. So take a pause. Understand the question, write on a piece of paper what you want to say, read it again to make sure it makes sense, and then we'll have that conversation. You're not making sense, sir. Please, you're just eating up time. Mr. Chaudhary, I'm so terribly sorry. Please do forgive me for coming late to you. I had to deal with two other
okay.
people.
I was listening to your
Yes.
conversation for the last 10
I just
15
want to
minutes.
ask you, is the Congress's Mohabbat only skin deep? And is the anti-Hindu stand woven into its DNA? Simple question. I have brought out examples when the Congress was in power across decades to show how it has been selective in the dissemination of its Mohabbat.
Now, Rahul, one thing I don't understand where you are coming to this conclusion that the Congress always favored a particular community out here. As you very well know, you have mentioned the name of the Waqf Act 1995, but you must be well aware that the Waqf Act was in existence since 1935. It was only amended in the 1995 with some new clauses getting in. That's out of question of debate today. I won't
It's a
get
good
into
point.
the details and the specific of that. Now, you come to the 1947 when we gained the independence, we promised, we pledged ourselves that whatever happened in the past we'll be living. Now, what happened 400 to 500 years ago, how do we consider the present day people of this country responsible to what Aurangzeb did? Now, you want to change the name of Aligarh to Harigarh, and you don't want to raise a question on, let's say, a Bihar BJP MLA, a little known one, Haribhushan Thakur Bachaul. What did he say against the Muslims? That was very well documented and recorded. I believe your archives will also give it out. If you want me to read, I feel ashamed to leave out here. He wanted all the Muslims to be burned to death in India. There was another one, your one famous right-wing lawyer, Ashwini Upadhyay. He's a Supreme Court lawyer, and he was arrested for dog whistling against the minorities of this country. Now you tell me, Rahul, whether Hindu Muslims are going to feed those 82% of the Biharis who are living on a less than 10,000 rupees per month income? I believe it is not the case.
Saying? What happened? What is happening here? Either I am dumb and I'm not
no,
making
Rahul,
the connections.
Rahul, you are very selectively trying
Maybe
to
it's the
come to a
pollution
point
in Delhi that has dulled my nerves and my senses and my brains. Maybe that is what it is, and I blame myself. Because viewers, he asked me the first question, how do you come to the conclusion that Congress is favouring only one community? Has he forgotten that Dr. Manmohan Singh himself said it? In 2006, I can play out the soundbite, I can read it out, it's in every newspaper. Will you deny it, sir? He said that? That is a matter of policy. What you are pointing out, all wrong things. Excuse me, let me finish. All these hate speeches are bad.
Yes.
Whether a BJP man makes them, whether a CPI person makes it, whether a SP person makes it, these are all to be ridiculed, punished. These people need to be put in jail, and some of them are being arrested. I am looking at the DNA.
Particular leader.
I am looking at the DNA.
Isolated.
Let's look at the DNA. Give me one example where the BJP in power has formulated a policy that differentiates between Indians. Name me one.
I can name you hundreds of these policies.
Name.
Hundreds of these policies.
Name.
One. There are instances.
Name one.
No, there are.
No, name me one.
Give you a very specific one.
Name me one.
Disturbed Area Act of Gujarat. What does it specify?
It was brought in by Congress.
No,
Sir,
who brought in the
unbelievable.
Disturbed Area Act?
Wow.
A minority or a Muslim cannot
It was
buy
brought
a
in by
house,
the Congress.
Cannot buy a plot of
Again,
land.
it's apples
in
and
a
oranges.
protected area.
Sir, in
That's
an
the
area only
Disturbed
Muslims
Area
live?
Act. No,
What is it? Tehseen, who brought
Who
it?
is implementing
Was it not Congress that brought that Disturbed Area Act? Tehseen,
implemented in Manipur was the
Who brought the act?
Disturbed
Who brought the act, Tehseen? Was it the Congress?
No, I am giving you a specific example. You asked for this. This is the discrimination that is faced. Out of the four,
One second.
three
You know what?
One second, one second. Look,
Yeah.
first of
cannot
all,
That amendment was got by
name
the
single
BJP.
minority
One second,
MLA.
one second.
He's right.
Now,
Viewers-
let me come to my basic point.
No, hang on, hang on.
Please.
No, hang on, just a minute. You haven't answered my question. You haven't named one central legislation in the last 10 years that discriminates against individuals on the basis of religion. Name it.
Not one.
Not one.
No, Rahul.
No. Dushyant Sridhar, respond to him. He says,
let me finish, plus.
okay,
Rahul,
finish.
Rahul, I told you one specific example where the government was in cahoots to discriminate against the Muslims of this country.
How, sir?
Now, you name one
How?
scheme.
How?
Wherein I named you the Disturbed Area Act,
But
the
that was-
implementation of the. No, let me tell you, the Assam government abolished the madrasas of the state. You might cite a post.
Sir,
You're a
call for
secular
this.
country. I don't believe
No,
that.
no,
Rahul,
When
these
you
were
have got
madrasas
ISS
that are
schools, you have
funded
got
by the
Saraswati
government.
schools.
I thought
Yes.
Mr.
Why should the
have
government
got
be in
all
the
these
business of
schools.
funding
These are
anyone's
not secular.
religions?
What happened to that?
I thought the American panelist was being irrational.
No,
But it's Mr. Kamru.
Anandji,
So
don't
you
be
want the
selective
state
and
to
don't
fund
steal in the
madrasas.
chair, please.
You
Well,
want the state government to fund religious schools, Kamruji? You want the state
said
government to fund? Is that what
And let me tell you,
secularism is?
that was part of an that was part of an overarching legislation
Where Sanskrit schools
where
were
Sanskrit
also.
schools
Yes.
were also. So
This
please
is the
don't make
level
these
of-
facile distinctions and cherry pick. No, one second. Let me
Even
bring
Tehseen
in.
is feeling embarrassed.
Yeah,
Tehseen
I
is feeling
think
embarrassed.
I think
can see
Tehseen
his-
knows, and
see
he's
his
keeping
face.
quiet, and he was actually quite mystified by what the other gentleman
American
said before,
gentleman was saying, yeah.
Mr. Amerikai. 1 minute.
Oh, he's Amerikai. I thought he was
Dushyant
American.
Sridhar, 1 second, sir. Dushyant Sridhar. Look, let's talk facts here for a change. Let's get to the basis of this. Yeah, I know people have made hate speeches. They have been reflexive in their hate, etc., etc. But I want to ask you, Mr. Sridhar, has this government passed any one legislation? In fact, if anything, they haven't done enough to end the discrimination.
Yes.
Simple question.
Yeah. Namaskaram, Rahul, and namaskaram to my fellow panelists. Just a few points. How will a person open a shop of love, mohabbat, when he has joined hands with the Dravidian ideology? The ideologue is Periyar. And that man suffered from verbal diarrhea, and every statement he made was anti-Hindu. They talk about idols of Periyar being placed outside temples that says there's no God. A person who believes in God is barbaric. Why is no such idol placed outside a mosque or a church? They too believe in God. So it is absolutely anti-Hindu. And at the same time, he talks about Muhammad ki dukan. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Rahul. I'm not that sound in politics, but yet I would love to say, the person who is the chief ministerial face of the Madhya Pradesh elections from the Congress's side, isn't he also accused in the anti-Sikh riots? So in that case, if my statement holds right, in that case, on what basis is this Mohabbat ki dukan? 2. And 3, obnoxious remarks were made on Sanatana Dharma, which is Hinduism, by a sitting minister who is the son of the chief minister of Tamil Nadu. Has there been a strong condemnation either from the president or any strong, the high command of Congress? Had this been made against any other religion, wouldn't those followers be on streets? Is this Mohabbat ki dukan? And when the person began his Padayatra from the state of Tamil Nadu in Kanyakumari, wasn't it the same pastor who said that the person who believes in Hindu gods such as Shakti, who are inferior gods, who are gods not to be worshipped, why was the person silent when the pastor was talking? Shouldn't he have said, stop it right away, this is not love what I am canvassing and professing? So on what basis, on the example of the past and the present, are they talking about Mohabbat ki dukan? And at the same time, your question was, has there been any legislation? See, which government has supported the Hindus largely, Rahul? As I've always said, Hindus remain the orphaned community in India.
Can I come in?
Right.
Can I come in?
No,
And Rahul, just 2 more points. Sorry, please. 2 more points. One person said, a person like Tipu, if he has committed mistakes 200, 300 years back, how can people of the community be bearing the brunt of it? Nobody wants any community to bear the brunt. But the issue came when 10 years back, when the chief minister said that a Tipu Jayanti has to be celebrated. So there's nothing to be celebrated about Tipu. Yes. Nobody said a community has to bear the brunt. But when you celebrate the birth of a person who has massacred people, then only the issue comes.
Okay, one quick factual intervention here on the Disturbed Areas Act. And let me make it. Viewers, this act was amended in 2010 and came to be known as the Prohibition of Transfer of Immovable Property and Provision of Protection of Tenants from Eviction from Premises in Disturbed Area Act, Gujarat. The act prohibits a Muslim from selling, leasing or transferring his property to a Hindu or a Hindu to a Muslim in a disturbed area unless it gets a clearance from the district collector. This original act was brought in, viewers, by the Congress. Why?
There we go.
Why, viewers? Why was it brought in? Because there had been a communal rioting in that particular area. And there were legitimate fears that things could go out of hand. So it was merely carried forward. So I just want to make that intervention. It's an important one, viewers. I am still awaiting one name of one. Yes, sir.
And just to end on what, Kamruji, 1 second.
Yeah, Mr. Chaudhary. Mr. Chaudhary.
The riots that you are speaking about of Gujarat was in 2002 when Narendra Modi was
No, sir. Please, there have been other communal incidents in 80s. You know that Gujarat has been a tinderbox. Karnataka has had many riots in the past. No agenda, please. I have agenda.
You can voice gag me. That is.
Am I wrong, sir? Please correct me on facts. What can I do if it was brought in 80?
I gave you an example. You caught your research from 2002 to 2023. Who was in power? The Bharatiya Janata Party. This law itself is
No, sir,
discriminatory.
2002, 2004 to 2014, it was the Congress. They could have removed the act also. Anyhow, I'm just saying, viewers, look, we are just tying ourselves in knots. Yes. Yeah.
I just want to, Kamruji, 1 second, because I want to make a very important point here, drawing on what you said, but more importantly, drawing on what my good friend Dushyant said. You see, it's not about remembering the atrocities or genocides perpetrated against Hindus centuries ago or even hundreds of years ago. It's about celebrating the humiliation. It's about showing the rest of the Hindus that, look, this is what this guy did and we are celebrating him. Hence the reason for Tipu Jayanti. I want to ask Kamruji, when he says, let's forget what happened 500 years ago, should there be a Hitler road in Tel Aviv? That's the question. You are celebrating the genocide of Hindus and celebration, and you are celebrating the humiliation perpetrated on them. That's the question. It's not a question of having remembering Aurangzeb or now. It's a question of having Aurangzeb road in the 21st century, Kamruji. That is the question.
Actually, you should have asked it the other way. It would have made more sense to him. Should have been a Ben Gurion road in Gaza.
Correct. Correct.
He asked me a specific question, let me just remember. Of course, it is wrong. It is right to remove the Aurangzeb road to some other road. I accept it.
Yes.
Because Aurangzeb was a tyrant according to many of us out here. But what happened to Mughal Sarai? What happened to Aligarh? What happened to Allahabad? What happened to
Allahabad's name was Prayagraj before it was changed to Allahabad. You know, I don't want, it's embarrassing for a scientist to give history lessons to Kamruji. Allahabad was changed, Prayagraj was changed to Allahabad. And now it has reverted.
Dog whistling is continuing out here. Dog whistling will continue. You see the Assam's chief minister.
Okay, viewers, I don't know which. No, hang on. Just everyone, please. I need to take a short break. I just wanted to ask a fundamental question. Can you draw a distinction? Simple distinction. I have shown you examples of when the Congress was in power and it acted selectively against various communities. Can you show me examples of the last 10 years when the Modi government at the center has brought in legislation that is discriminatory on a religious basis? No answers. They took us to some rabbit hole in Gujarat, down some rabbit hole in Gujarat in 1985, 86 when there were riots there, 91, the Disturbed Areas Act, or before that was brought in, amended. Viewers, we are not having a constructive debate on facts. The facts are that the Congress, when it was in power, exhibited a particular, what should one say, discriminatory attitude towards one particular tradition. The BJP hasn't. In fact, it has not done enough to correct the misgivings of the past. I'll take a short break. When we return, viewers, we're speaking to a very special individual from the UK who has got the government there to accept that there is Hinduphobia while there are denials here. We'll confront them. We'll meet that gentleman.
Hello, Moto.
Especially in North India, and asked them to chalk out a plan which would eventually mean that this menace of pollution that the people of Delhi and North India have to face year in and year out, a concrete plan is made out so that a solution can be found to this menace. But yes, at this point in time, politics continues over it. But yes, people of Delhi are still scared as this AQI and the air that we are forced to breathe in continues to remain toxic. Until when it will remain toxic, that is still a very, very big question mark. And at this point in time, what also remains to be seen, if at all our governments after the Supreme Court came down heavily on them, can finally get their acts together, sit on a table and chalk out a concrete plan because of which we can do away with this menace of pollution that the people of the national capital have to face year in and year out. The people of Delhi are continuously facing this health hazard that has come up because of the rising pollution levels out here in the national capital. Yesterday, the Supreme Court finally took cognizance of this entire situation. After the hearing that happened in the Supreme Court ordered the Delhi government and Delhi Pollution Control Committee to go ahead and open these smog towers that have been closed for the last 8 months. The main accusation was that this does not affect the air quality out here, and that was the reason why this was closed, because remember, this entire smog tower was built at a cost of rupees 22 crores, and it took almost rupees 10 lakh per month to maintain this smog tower. But since the air quality in the national capital has deteriorated to such a level that over the past 6 days, the people of the national capital are being forced to in fact breathe in severe air category AQI, and hence this order was given to go ahead and open this. This morning, the chairman of the DPCC actually came over here and opened the locks of the gates over here, and at this point in time, the technical committee and the maintenance committee are inside the smog tower. They are actually figuring out that if at all this smog tower that has been shut for the last 8 months needs any sort of maintenance, any sort of technical the glitch that might have come up, and once these glitches are solved, the maintenance is done, we can expect these smog towers to actually go ahead and start function. So these are few of the steps that are being taken by the Delhi government after the court orders to give immediate relief, to provide some sort of immediate relief to the people of the national capital who have continuously been suffering due to this deteriorating air quality out here. Now over the next few hours, it is expected that once the maintenance is done, once the technical glitches are smoothened, we can expect that these smog towers would start to function. But yes, how much significant is it going to be in improving the air quality, especially out here in the Connaught Place area? That is still a big question mark, and that will be answered once these smog towers start functioning, and we can expect that the AQI might be reduced by a significant margin as well.
Viewers, we deny it here in India, the fact that there is Hinduphobia. But in the UK, in Britain, in London to be specific, they're taking the lead in documenting now specifically hate crimes against Hindus. They've recognized the reality. The London Assembly has passed a resolution ordering the Metropolitan Police, that's right, to work more closely with local Hindu communities to encourage confidence in reporting hate crimes and also for tabulating specifically hate crimes against Hindus. There have been hate crimes against Hindus just because they are Hindus in so many countries. But in India, of course, viewers, we don't accept it. Let's first speak to Krupesh Hirani, who is a member of that assembly, and also Dr. Ranganathan will open the screen out, we'll bring everybody in. Let's have a longer and larger and interesting conversation. Mr. Kripani, thank you very much for speaking to me here. I want to ask you, why did you feel the need to go ahead with moving this very significant motion, resolution, call it what you want? Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, so over the summer, I looked at the hate crime statistics across England and Wales, and there was some government data that was published on this. And what it found was that Hindus were the second most likely group to be victims of hate crime. Now, when I speak about hate crime, we are looking in particular at religious and racially motivated hate crime. And what we were seeing in terms of the Metropolitan Police dashboard, so the police have a separate crime dashboard which looks at some of the main areas of crime across London in relation to Metropolitan Police. And the issue of hate crime against Hindus just wasn't picked up or recorded properly. Now, the reason why I feel that's an issue is because if it's showing up in some of the data that we have across England and Wales in the country, half of the UK's Hindus live in London. Mm-hmm. So there was just a real anomaly or difference in some of the statistics that we were seeing that I wanted to really get a sense and a picture of. And that's what my motion tries to take forward through the London Assembly and through the Metropolitan Police, to make sure that crime statistics in terms of anti-Hindu hate crime or Hinduphobia are recorded properly, because in my eyes, how can we begin to address the issue unless we don't really look or recognize the issue in terms of crimes in London?
Tausif, can I bring you in? Mr. Tausif Ahmed, let me bring you in. They're recognizing the reality out there. Here we remain in denial. Anytime anyone speaks about Hinduphobia, they're accused of being communal, of trying to push for some sort of Hindu revivalism.
No, it is a fact, Rahul, that many a times people have misunderstood people of particular faith and then identified them with people of Hindu faith. Like, for example, Sikhs have so many times been identified with Muslims. Then now we have on India one Sudarshan TV channel anchor, Suresh Chawanke, openly doing a show saying that Hindus are actually descendants of Jews. So there are lots of these stuff, but I agree with you. There is a total failure of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. He is more interested in his wife-owned company Infosys business interest, who has signed a MOU with Israel.
Okay, since he's not here, Mr. Tausif, Mr. Tausif, he's not here. He'll sue us.
To make London a secure place.
Okay, so that, what he is doing with his wife, etc., I can't get into. He's not here to defend his case, and, it's a matter of their domestic politics. But are you saying that he's playing the Hindu card in England now? No, please, Dr. Ranganathan, let's. I'm just asking, why is this whataboutery on this? Some people have suffered here on account of Hinduphobia.
Very briefly, 2 points. First of all, I congratulate Mr. Hirani for compiling that data. It's very important.
Getting a system to compile it and recognize it.
Yes, absolutely, no doubt about it. And it will bring much needed clarity about why this is happening. But you asked a couple of questions. Why we ignore Hindumesia, I'd rather call it, hatred against Hindus rather than fear of Hinduism in India. Possibly because we've kind of so lived with it. It's so intertwined. You look at Periyar, you look at the statements of DMK, you look at what happened 2 months ago. And then you realize that we are living with it. And when you live with it, you somehow take it in your stride. And you kind of mix it, that line between trying to reform Hinduism and trying to make derogatory statements against Hinduism is kind of blurred in the place where Hinduism or any other faith originates. That's point number one. Point number two, I would like to address Mr. Hirani because I want to ask, is it not true that these instances of hatred against Hindus is being perpetrated by a particular community in UK? That is very important because look what is happening to Jews right now. Same thing was happening to Hindus. Same thing is happening to all non-believers. It's a question between believers being the perpetrator and non-believers being the victim. It's
so how bad is it? And is there one, does it come from one particular area? Mr. Hirani.
Yes, so I gave a few examples when I actually proposed the motion because it naturally just stems from values or traditions and religious beliefs and religious practices that Hindus have. So one example I gave, for example, was about examples that I know in the community where children at schools or even people where they may have had an altercation or argument with people have meat thrown at them because people know that Hindus in general, and especially if you're looking at beef and the cow being sacred in the Hindu religion, it's seen as highly offensive to throw meat and particular beef at Hindus, and there have been instances recorded where this has happened. Now, having anything thrown at anyone is obviously not a nice thing to experience, but in particular for a Hindu to have beef, as I said, the cow is a very sacred animal in Hinduism, just makes that crime even more worse as if it were, compared to any other item that were to be thrown at Hindus. And that's just one example that I've picked out and cited. The other is the obvious one where if you look at symbols that Hindus wear, and particularly Hindu women, with the bindi mark on foreheads, and even men. So many, if you look at some Hindu communities in London and the UK and all around the world, particularly around Gujarat, I've got a large community in my constituency in Brenton Harrow, who follow the Swaminarayan sect, and they wear tilak and janda on their foreheads as well, quite proudly. And some of the hate crimes that could and do emanate from that is experienced by Hindus.
Unlike what Mr. Tausif was trying to suggest, that they are mistaken identity, I think their symbols are marking them out, viewers, for hate crime. Now that, I think, settles the debate.
Yes.
And I think we need to begin to open our minds to this. Hindu Misya, as Dr. Ranganathan calls it, I still believe that there are people who suffer from a phobia because they think that the faith is going to eviscerate their culture, etc., and they have a reluctance to sort of integrate. But that's a different argument, viewers. We can have that debate another time. But I think, Mr. Hirani, congratulations to you, and I hope that the other cities, Birmingham, where all that drama is happening on our screens, where temples are under siege, Dr. Ranganathan, and we know from whom, I just hope that those cities also wake up and get over their own hesitation on account of votes and banks and all of that. I'll leave it at this. We come back tomorrow, viewers, with a very big story. Don't go away. Stay with us.
Co-powered by
With video journalist and Satish Essential Singh for CNN News 18. For the sixth straight day, the AQI in the national capital continues to remain in the severe category. Today as well, the AQI in the national capital and the nearby regions is above the 400 mark, which means that the air that we are breathing in continues to remain toxic. Currently, I am reporting from the iconic Akshardham temple, and if I could show you in the visuals over here, the entire area over here has been engulfed with smog and toxic haze. This is the toxic smog that we are forced to breathe day in and day out, and you can see in the visuals over here how this thick layer of smog has engulfed the entirety of the national capital today as well. The situation has remained in the severe category for the last 6 days, and IMD predicts that over the next few days as well, the AQI is likely to remain in the severe category itself. So yes, there is no sudden relief that will be seen by the people of the national capital, who are now running from pillar to post just to get a grasp of fresh air. But a silver lining happened yesterday, where the Supreme Court finally came on record and came down in fact heavily on the states, especially in North India, and asked them to chalk out a plan which would eventually mean that this menace of pollution that the people of Delhi and North India have to face year in and year out, a concrete plan is made out so that a solution can be found to this menace. But yes, at this point in time, politics continues over it. But yes, people of Delhi are still scared, as this AQI and the air that we are forced to breathe in continues to remain toxic. Until when it will remain toxic, that is still a very, very big question mark. And at this point in time, what also remains to be seen, if at all our governments, after the Supreme Court came down heavily on them, can finally get their acts together, sit on a table and chalk out a concrete plan, because of which we can do away with this menace of pollution that the people of the national capital have to face year in and year out. The people of Delhi are continuously facing this health hazard that has come up because of the rising pollution levels out here in the national capital. Yesterday, the Supreme Court finally took cognizance of this entire situation. After the hearing that happened in the Supreme Court ordered the Delhi government and Delhi Pollution Control Committee to go ahead and open these smog towers that have been closed for the last 8 months. The main accusation was that this does not affect the air quality out here, and that was the reason why this was closed, because remember, this entire smog tower was built at a cost of rupees 22 crores, and it took almost rupees 10 lakh per month to maintain this smog tower. But since the air quality in the national capital has deteriorated to such a level that over the past 6 days, the people of the national capital are being forced to in fact breathe in severe air category AQI, and hence this order was given to.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. Now, reports suggest that India proposes to reduce import taxes on some electric vehicles from the United Kingdom in a free trade deal between the two nations by the end of the year. Now, these reports suggest that Bharat is considering a concessional tariff of 30% on 2,500 electric vehicles imported annually from the UK, priced above $80,000. Now, there is also an addition in this report that this is